Okay, I'm live and hello everybody and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talk. Portsmouth Coffee Talk, and of course, let me adjust the camera here a little bit and you see. Well, anyway, we are here. Well, I'm here. What was that? Something came across the screen. But just wanted to talk about, are we ready for, and here in Hampton Roads, are we ready for a wintry weekend that's being forecast for us? And I think it's been forecast all up and down the East Coast. Remember talking to my co-host on our take on it, featuring Slim and Shona Swinson, who lives in Georgia. They're preparing there as well for what might happen, as far as the wintry forecast that we're getting. So, are we ready here in Hampton Roads? It's been a long time since we really had a big storm. It seemed like when I was growing up, we had a lot of big storms because we would sit around when we got the forecast and wait, especially was during the week, and wait and see if we were given the opportunity to miss school the next day or that next day, right? And a lot of times it happened because we got enough snow to shut us down. Now, being small, it just seemed like it was a lot more snow back then, and I think it was. I think it was. Than we've been getting since since I've been growing. Since like more and more every year, we get less and less. The winter seems shorter. It gets cold. We have some really cold and frigid days, pipe freezing days, but it doesn't seem to, last as long. I don't know if the climate warming has anything to do with it. I kind of think it does because I've had the people come on here and talk about the history of it and how experts have been looking at it and seeing that it's been a warming of the planet due to a lot of things, whether you believe it or not, or it's controversial that is it really happening? And it's strange. It's become a political thing where one side doesn't believe in the science, and the other side kind of goes with the science because we always have gone with the science, and it takes a lot of study and hard work to come up with the predictions and all the studies they've made to to see how the climate, the earth is going and the changes over the years. And we've seen that they say a change in the climate is responsible for the dinosaur age to become extinct. Now, we've heard different stories about a big comet hitting the earth and just wiping out all the dinosaurs to the point where they couldn't reproduce because it was none left. Or the climate changed over the years, and and dinosaurs just died out. Of course, man continued to progress over the years and evolve into what we are today. But getting back to the climate, it's kind of strange. It's been crazy here in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And for those that might be looking from other places and not familiar with Hampton Roads, it's the name of uh, combination of seven cities. We call it the seven cities of Hampton Roads. And it includes some other cities, and we have counties in Virginia and everything. But the seven main cities in the southeastern part of Virginia, are called the Hampton Roads. At one point, it was called Tidewater. The area was called Tidewater, but now it's called Hampton Roads, and it includes Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Suffolk, Hampton, Newport News, Norfolk, and Portsmouth. And that's the seven cities, the main cities and sometime in talking about the area, they include historic Williamsburg and some other surrounding counties because of the proximity of it. But the main seven cities, they're comprised of what we call Hampton Roads, the Hampton Roads area in Virginia. So, as I was saying, we haven't gotten much. Well, like I said, it gets cold here, but we hadn't got a lot of snow. And even if we did, we probably is not as prepared as some of the Midwest or further up north cities and states that get those big snowstorms. And so they have the equipment, they're prepared for it. And uh, we are not, it's not something that we keep in our stockpile because getting ready for big storms, because we very seldom have them. But we are kind of prepared to lay down the salt on the roads, the main highways, for we do get freezing roads if it rains and it's really cold. But they're predicting, and I'm gonna have to look at, because when they have predictions early in the week, by the time it comes closer and closer to the actual time it's supposed to happen, things change, and I think it was a lot worse. Their predictions were a lot worse early in the week than they are now, but they're still saying be prepared for a wintry mix. And I'm looking at today. Uh, Today's high is supposed to be 60. Is this the calm before the storm? Now 60. That I think that's kind of abnormal for late January. or mid to late January. 60s, is kind of unusual. Usually the highs might be in the low 50s or maybe 40s, high 40s. But we get a high of 60 and a low of 34 today. And then tomorrow, a high of 50 with a low of 25, and that's typical of this time of the year. 25, you get down there, you're talking about freezing weather then. And Saturday, when we are getting the mix, now the weather is a high of 34 and the low of like 22, which I said, like you're getting into the freezing areas there, the pipe freezing areas if you have those uh, older pipes. So you have to be careful for that, drip your faucets. But they're showing they showed the percentage of participation, participation of rain and snow. Sometimes I get tongue tied with some of the words, and 5 minutes later I can pronounce it, but right now I can't. But anyway, the rain and snow, or the wintry mix, as they call it, it's just like 20%, and starting like 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, and it stays 20% all the way up until like 12, and then the percentage drops off uh, from 12 until 8 p.m. that night, and the 20% of participation, Pacific Wintery Mix, picks up again at 20%, and then at 11 o'clock, it's like 40%. And that's where this report kind of stops on that Saturday. But Sunday, when they're really expecting most of the bad weather, you Sunday morning, 12 a.m., you got like 40% chance, and then it just goes up to 50 to 70 by 5 a.m., then to 80 by 8 a.m., and then it stays 80%. You can be guaranteed if it's 80% chance of something happening, it's going to happen. So what we just have to be aware of or ready for is how much we're going to get. Now, all these percentages are throughout the day, and they start to fluctuate a little bit. After 12 p.m., it drops to 70%, then 50, then 40, and then 50, and then it goes back up to 80, like 80. But you have a percentage, a high percentage, at least over 50% most of the day. So that's like a guarantee that we're going to get something. Are you ready? Are you ready for it? Whatever happens, because you never know. And in this area, a lot of times we'll get prepared, and it's always good to get prepared. And it's not too bad. At the last minute, you know, the forecast will change, and they say it just blew over or it shifted and went more towards Northern Virginia, Richmond, or something like that. But it's probably predicted for the whole state, something to happen in the whole state. But I'm concentrating on the area I live in, which I talked about earlier, Hampton Roads. Boy, I'm doing a lot with my hands here. Am I a politician? Am I Trump? You know, what's going on here? You know, I could be a sign, signing why I'm talking, and you would know. You all remember the lady that was uh, hired to do a sign language interpretation at a police report, at a official police were giving a report. I can't remember where it was, what state or what city, but it was a official police uh, report. You know how they come on and they talk about whatever case is up pending, or whatever is going on in that city, and how the investigation is going. And they had hired a sign lady, and of course, none of them knew sign language. So she got up there and was doing all this. It looked the part, but people that were watching at home that knew sign language or were actually deaf, and later on they reported that what she was doing did not make sense. It was not sign language. She got paid, and it wasn't really discovered, or whoever saw it then didn't really report it, or maybe they did, and the police department was embarrassed, but it was like a day or something before it came out that that's what happened, and she was just signing just like I'm doing here, and it just looked for someone like me or you that doesn't know sign language. It looked like she was doing her thing, and she got paid. And then they found out she was a fraud. She did not know sign language. She was not interpreting what the guy was saying. She was just, she might as well have been doing an Hawaiian dance or something like that. But she had nothing to do with what he was saying. So I digress. But I was just reminded of that, and that was quite funny, and how even the police department can be fooled by a grifter. You know what a grifter is? It's a person that takes advantage of an opportunity, uh, and not is not really qualified or professional to do that job, but knows how to scam or get over on people by letting them think that they are the people that they pretend to be, but they're not. Anyway, a grifter. She was a big time grifter. And you see where's that book? I have a book by Clay Kane. Clay Kane called the Grift, and you need to get that and read that. Uh, it tells you about how people get over. But anyway, back to the weather. So the first 2 days, today and tomorrow, is going to be great weather. I didn't realize how nice it was outside until I went outside and said, "Wow, So we had to turn the heat back in the house because it wasn't that cold outside, so could save on that energy. But it looks like we're going to get something. So to what extent, I would believe, the predictions, the weather people. Oh, somebody wants me to say, okay, I'm looking at precipitation. Precipitation. I got it. I got it. Precipitation. That's what I was trying to say, but my mind and my tongue and voice box and all that, everybody was working, everybody was working opposite of each other. Yay, thanks, Shona. But whoever Magnum is, just encourage me to say it again. And okay, and I did it. Thanks, Magnum, for your encouragement on that. And Shona, you knew I could do it, right? Uh, I'm scared to try it again, but let me try it again. Precipitation. Precipitation. That means rain, snow, or sleet, hail. That's precipitation. Precipitation. Okay. I got that right. But anyway, thank you. You know, when you do these things, you can always get that kind of lesson from the people that watch. And that's why I appreciate people making their comments. They can tell you when you're wrong, they can tell you when you're right, they can tell you uh, when you don't want to hear it, you know. So, but if you put yourself out there and open it up to comments, you have to respect the comments that come in, whether they agree or disagree. And I like the fact that people can agree and disagree, and we can agree to disagree. So that's the way it is. And that's why it's so crazy now when, uh, one time, maybe later on, we'll get into the different politics and that's going on today. Maybe I'll do a solo thing about how I feel about what's going on. I think if you watch anything I've done, you'll pretty much know. But getting back to the weather before I close this thing out, I just wanted and Shona down in Atlanta, be ready for whatever might come there. The roads can be slick, and so just be careful out there, people. And let me say this to the drivers. You know, it's nothing wrong. I don't know. Some drivers, I believe, have an ego to the point where they get behind the wheel and feel like, okay, this is my domain, and this is where I have to prove that I can drive, or I can. Uh, and I don't have the patience to be sitting behind someone that's going too slow, the speed limit, the actual speed limit, and sometimes maybe five over, but that's too slow for some people. Anyway, the drivers that feel like you're going too slow and have to ride your bumper or turn out or pass you on the double line, which the double lines on a two-lane highway means you don't pass. Two-lane highway, if it's chopped up lines, you can pass if that person is going too slow and nothing is coming the opposite way. But double lines, that's telling you not to pass because it might be in a curve or something like that, or the visual quality is not that good where people have to, the road is telling you it's not safe to do that. But anyway, you all people out there that feel like you have something to prove when you're driving, you know, slow down when the weather, when it's ice or potential ice on the road, or it's raining or snowing or whatever is coming out of the sky and hitting the ground. You have to be careful because you can lose control of that car. I don't care how well you think you can drive. If you came from up north and you drove in this kind of weather all the time, but you're down here in Hampton Roads now, it's a little different. And the people out down here in Hampton Roads try to be careful because we're not used to uh, snow all the time. So when we do have it, or sleet that leaves ice, or freezing rain that leaves ice on the road, we try to be more careful because it's not something that we're used to. Now, if you come from up north and it snows every day and it's 5, 6 inches and ice on the road, and you know how to maneuver, and everybody else is maneuvering, but I do see a lot of wrecks, in that kind of weather. Realize you're in a different area now. People drive different. And even if we didn't, or you drive different, or we weren't prepared, it just makes common sense to be more careful when you have uh, bad weather, you know, and you're on the road, and especially, and I've seen people being reckless while they're driving, and they have kids in the car. Who does that? You all remember when there were no seat belt laws, and I think everybody's mother did this. And there was no seat belts in the cars, no baby boosters. No matter how big you are, you just sat in that seat. You know, if it was you and your mother, and most mothers always did this, and you come to a light, and it wouldn't be an abrupt stop, but her hand automatically came out and put her hand in front of whatever whoever the child was sitting in that front seat, you know, to keep, to protect that child from, getting hurt, because you never know when you're driving like that. And sometimes people were crazy and she had to stop abruptly, but it didn't have to be that. Her hand automatically came out to protect you. And that was a nurturing mother. That's something instinctive within them, I think. And then, later on um, we got the seatbelts. The only thing it was with me, but by the time I was in high school, my mother was still doing that. Before I got my license, and you in high school, you don't get your license until maybe, well, you get them at 16, you get your learner's permit at 15 and 8 months. I think that's the same way now, but before that, you in high school, you couldn't drive. Your mother had to take you everywhere, your father. Now, yeah, I can't remember my father putting his arm out like that. Fathers, they want to protect you too, but they didn't put their arm out like that. They would stop and you almost go through the window, if they had to stop abruptly. And then they would ask you, are you all right? But those mothers, did everything to protect you. Not taking anything from the father. It just wasn't something that was in most of them. They didn't think about that. I think I was like that. But well, by the time I had my daughter, it was seat belts and car seats and all that stuff. But well, no, not in the beginning. I remember when she was a newborn, and you can't do this now. We ride down the street and her mother would be holding her in the front seat, you know, little teeny baby, anything could happen. And you had to really be careful as a parent driving in because you really had to. I always said, look out for the other guy and you'll be okay. But we just keep going off on different things here. But yeah, slow down out there. The life you save might be your own. The most frightening thing about reckless drivers, usually when they're out there reckless like that, and they make a critical mistake and run into somebody, they are the ones, and I think everybody should survive, but the person that was innocently driving and trying to follow the rules, they're the ones that get hurt or killed. And that reckless person, you know, um, a lot of times, nothing happened to, especially if they were drunk driving for some reason. The drunk driver always survives. And anyway, I had to bring that up too. Don't do that either. But anyway, be prepared out there, y'all, and be patient here in Hampton Roads. If the roads get icy or something like that, be patient. The states and the city will do all they can to make the roads drivable because a lot of people still are essential to their jobs, and they expect you to be there, regardless of what your job is. Now, some jobs do shut down. If it's the school system, they're not going to take any chances. Well, it's going to be the weekend, so and I don't think it's supposed to carry in. It depends on how bad the snow is and how bad the ice is and how cold it is and how much is remaining on Monday morning. The schools might shut down depending on, you know, the conditions of the roads and how the weather treats us. So just be prepared. I hope it just floats over and we get a little bit of nothing like it happens a lot of times here lately in Hampton Roads. But we are always prepared for the worst. And of course, if you live here, you know it doesn't take much. A couple of inches and some ice on the road will shut most things down. But like I said, there's a lot of people that have to go to work in order for uh, things to happen, in order for everything to keep moving. So that's on Monday. But if it's on the weekend, you have people as well now that have to go on weekends, as opposed to when a lot of things were closed, uh, like some grocery stores or some things you couldn't buy on Sundays. You remember that? It was a Sunday laws. They were going to force you not to be shopping on Sunday. It was almost like I think drugstores would be open because that was kind of essential. People would get sick, but you go there and load up on stuff. But uh, a lot of stores that were open, there were restrictions on what could be bought on a Sunday. Um, and I'm sure that was led by the church folks, but eventually that, because most people that work almost always had Sundays off. It was like a known thing, not unless you worked in movie theaters or fast food joints or the shipyard, things like that. But a good amount of the people did not work on Sundays, and they had a blue law, and if you attempted to buy something on Sunday, you could be prosecuted. And I saw that happen. I saw my dad. I went down. My dad was a substitute judge, and one time he was filling in for another judge. So it was early on doing his appointment. So I wanted to go down there and see my dad at work, and I think it was several other times I've gone down there, but this particular time someone came before him because they bought a light bulb on a Sunday. Now I don't know how that even got to court, but it was excuse me. For those that you remember, it was a blue law against buying some things on a Sunday. My thing was, how did that get to court if the if wherever she was sold it to her? Shouldn't the people that sold it to her, shouldn't they be the ones that would be in court except the person that bought it? I don't know. I mean, was it a setup? We're gonna set this lady up for buying this light bulb because it's just not right. So we're gonna sell it to her, and then we're gonna call the officer from out the back room and arrest her and send her to court to answer to violating the blue law, buying a light bulb on Sunday. I know that might sound unbelievable, and Shona might know. I will throw a little uh, true fiction. You get the words true fiction in our show sometimes, but this one was true fact. I actually sat there and saw that happen, and I never did find out the details about that, but I did see that actually happened in court. But that was back then, you know, and a lot of people that might watch this probably won't even can't even imagine that because everything has always been open on Sunday and is uh, nothing is not allowed to be sold or bought on Sunday, even alcohol now, you know. So that was one of the things you couldn't get legally on Sunday. Maybe wine or beer. And for a while, you couldn't get wine or beer, or it had to be a certain time, after a certain time, before you couldn't buy wine or beer at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. You had to wait until after 1 o'clock to buy your wine or beer. That was a law, that was a rule. Didn't want people drinking at 8 o'clock. It was something about you drinking at 8 o'clock that there had to be a law against it. And some of these laws are still on the books, but they're not enforced. Some laws are taken off the books, and some laws, like spitting on the sidewalk, that used to be against the law. And I don't know if it's still on the books, but some laws are still on the books, but they're just not enforced because they're so stupid. And some of the legislators don't even waste their time taking it off the book. It's a waste of time, you know, going into session to take spitting on the sidewalk off the books. You just don't enforce it, but it's still on the books. Now, I don't know if that's still on the books, but it's crazy laws like that are not enforced, that are still on the books. If you look them up, still on the books. And even when it was on the books and you could get arrested for it, wasn't that crazy? Spitting on the sidewalk. I mean, it was nasty, spitting on the sidewalk, but it's not a criminal offense, I wouldn't think, but it was then because it was a law on the books against it. Ooh, but the rain would come and just wash that away. So the rain might come. Anybody that's been doing that, uh, between today and tomorrow, the rain is going to just wash it away. So it will be no evidence. If that law is still on the books, it'll be no evidence that you spit on the sidewalk, and you probably won't be arrested. So, uh, but put it on the grass. So what else I want to talk about here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk? Well, let me do some promotion here. Since Shona is watching, I want to let you know to make sure to watch our take on it. That's the name of our YouTube channel featuring Slim and Shona. Slim James Overton, that's me, and Shona Choke Swinson. And the rest of the title of the show is From P Town to ATL, and that's from Portsmouth, Virginia to Atlanta, Georgia, where she is, and I'm here in Portsmouth, and we do our show virtually, and we do have plans down the road whenever she comes into town, or if I'm ever in Georgia, we're gonna make it a point to come together to do a live show in the presence of each other. But right now, she's there, I'm here, and we do it virtually. So make sure you watch the Slim and Shona show. Well, it's the Our Take on It show featuring Slim and Shona every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Make sure you tune in and you can comment in real time because we do the show live. And make sure you subscribe if you're watching for the first time to get our numbers up. We wanna blow the roof off the sucker, getting our numbers up. So make sure you subscribe. And each time you watch the show, which is very important, make sure you like the show. And that's Our Take on It, featuring Slim and Shona, from P Town to ATL. So we look forward to seeing you there. We look forward to you being a guest, but you can be a participant each show with your comments in real time. And just support us, and just stay tuned. We have a lot of things we want to do with the show, and people we want to bring on, and subjects we want to cover, and we're going to need you there as well as our viewers to help us succeed with the show. Also, Portsmouth Coffee Talk, as I mentioned on another one of my videos, we for years we've been for over 5 years doing Portsmouth Coffee Talk in the mornings, starting at 6:30 at one time, and then we went from 6:30 to 7 a.m. in the morning. So we'll be from now on. We'll be going to Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Portsmouth Coffee Talk will be on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. We're going to try the evening show to see how that works, because we have some people say it's pretty early in the morning, or they might have to leave the show early because they have to go to work. The guests I'm talking about. So we're gonna try the 7 p.m. slot and see how that works, and hopefully continue with Portsmouth Coffee Talk. But until we go to that I might 7 p.m. slot, which might be next week or in the next 2 weeks, you'll see me popping up doing these solo videos promoting all the shows that we do on YouTube, especially the Our Take on It. That's a special show, a special meaning to me because it involves one of my high school classmates, and we try to incorporate some of our classmates into our shows as well, or Narcom grads, people that went there during the 70s or anytime you went there. But especially we want our fellow classmates that graduated from IC Northam in 1972. But watch that. And I also have a YouTube page called the Slim Nation One-on-Ones Experience, where I have certain people on there from time to time. Don't have a scheduled time for it because it just when I run into people, I ask them do they want to be on there. But we'll be doing a lot of those on our take on it, and I will do special shows of people that I really want to have that one-on-one with on the One Slim Nation One-on-Ones Experience. Now you can go up there right now on the YouTube channel and look at some of the previous one-on-one conversations I've had with people over the years. So did all the promotions there and just wanted to come on there and talk about the weather a little bit and some other things, and just trying to keep the interest in the shows that we are doing here on the YouTube channel. Of course, Portsmouth Coffee Talk has been around a long time. Our take on it, featuring Slim and Shona, is pretty new. Uh, it's within a year. I think it started in October. Yeah, the official launching of the show. But anyway, and the Slim Nation has been around for a while too. So no telling where we're going. I think I mentioned I'm also trying to do a reaction show, a music reaction show. As soon as I can figure out, it's kind of complicated setting it up on OBS. That's a platform that a lot of people use to do those reactions because you can edit and do all that stuff within that platform. But setting it up has been difficult for me, so I'm trying to learn. I keep watching the instructional videos over and over again because I didn't grow up with this stuff. So everything here I go with the hands again. I feel like one of the temptations. Whoop 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 whoop. But I can't help it. I, I, my hands. I think everybody does that. Your hands are part of your expression, especially if you get excited about something you're doing. But I'm conscious of it because I feel like I'm like Trump. How he talks, and he always does this. You know, and that's when you can tell he's lying when he puts those hands up. Lie, 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 lie. I'm telling a lie. Lie, 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 up and down, lie, lie, lie. So I don't want people to interpret my hand justice as me telling a lie because I'm a truth teller. If I lie, I'll tell you I just told a fib, But anyway, try not to lie anyway. If I tell something, like I said earlier, it's true fiction. Yeah. Go look that up. True fiction. All right, everybody, take care. And I can, yeah, bet you, Magnum, bet you I can direct the choir. Yeah, well, yeah, look at it like that. Don't look at it like the Trump thing, the lie Trump thing. Look at it like I'm directing a choir of viewers. While y'all are listening to me, you might want to, be singing, I don't know where that came from, but anyway, I think it's time to go now. But thanks everybody for watching, And if you're living here in the Hampton Roads or anywhere up and down the East Coast, because I think they're predicting inclement weather for precipitation, um, all up and down the precipitation. Thanks, Magna. All up and down the East Coast, even down as far as down to Georgia. So just be careful if it comes, and just be prepared for it, and be careful. We're going to do something that I know we're going to regret. Later on, we're going to go out to the store and get a few things. But anytime, especially in this area, something like that happens, the grocery stores are packed with people trying to prepare for being shut in, and the grocery stores, they profit, and then the storm just blows over. Especially when they're predicting a hurricane winds or something like that, and they say it's going to hit us. And uh, uh, the day before, they say, the hurricane turned and went out to sea, and we sitting here with all this food. But I guess that's a good thing, if it's something that's not going to go bad. But it's crazy in the grocery stores during this time. Anytime they predict bad weather, everybody in this area sort of tries to prepare, and then everybody does it at the same time in the grocery store. So you just have to know that's going to happen. So we're going out today to get some things just in case the weather shuts us down. Okay, people, I'm going for real this time. I thank the viewers that were watching. Shona, we'll see you next week. And Magnum, I appreciate you helping with me with my wording, precipitation, um, which is still difficult for me to say for some reason. I forgot to do my mouth exercises. And remember this: if you go, I'm like a preacher. One more minute. Remember, if you want to do a video or platform and things like that, unless a trained journalist, or you've had speech classes, or you a vocal coach, or you're a singer, which you have to practice, the vowels and everything. It's certain things I've seen people, you have to do certain things that work for you to prepare your mouth for talking and pronouncing certain words. Now, some people have no problem with it because they've been talking and doing that. I sometimes have a problem with some words, and I found out it helps sometimes, and I don't always do it, but I try to do it. If before you go on camera, you know, you do some exercises like that, and it prepares your mouth uh, to be more able to pronounce certain words that might be difficult for you, or it just prepares you uh, for talking. And if that's what you do, so I try to remember to do it, but I don't always do it. And then I go on camera cold, and the simplest words won't come out right, and I have to replace them with even a simpler word. So it sound like I'm a first grader, but that's okay as long as I get the point over to you all. Okay. All right. For real, this time we are leaving you, and we thank you again for watching, and we appreciate you. And stay tuned for more pop-ups of me coming on, pour some coffee talk, in between some of our more serious shows on subjects that uh, uh, national, state, and local, in politics, or whatever we feel like people that come on, or the guests we invite on, might have something to say that might uh, entertain, it might inform, or help someone that might be going through something that they have nowhere else to turn. So that's the kind of experts that we bring on, psychology and things like that. And don't think it's an earthquake here. The computer laptop is on the table and I'm shaking it. It's not because I'm nervous. I saw it shaking. Now I'm playing with it. But that's probably how, if we lived in California and during the show and the earthquake started, that's probably what would be happening. I'm glad I'm not in California or anywhere where an earthquake is. Although we had one here one time, threw the house off the foundation slightly. Whew, boy, I didn't know I had all this to say. It's been 45 minutes of me rambling on, and I know nobody's going to watch for 45 minutes, but that's okay. As long as when you come on, make sure you subscribe to the Portsmouth Coffee Talk, where I am going live here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk right now. And you might see me live on the Slim and Shona show before the show comes on. Shona might come on live by herself sometimes and just promote the show. So I think I held you long enough. So we're going to leave. Take care, and we'll see you next time. And people moving in, people moving out. Why? Because of the color of the skin. Run, 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 but you sure can't hide. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Vote for me and I'll set you free. Rap on, brother, brother, rap on. Okay, I just wanted to show, it's not always just me move my hands. The Temptations do it too. It's a sign of expression. Just don't do this. Just don't do that. Leave that alone, people. Take care. We'll see you next time. And remember to always be aware, be informed, and most of all, just be involved, y'all.